dragons are back. And if you're watching this, it is not by chance. They are calling you to reclaim your connection with them and with your own dragon energy. And in this video today, we're going to dive into exactly what the dragons are, where they went, and why they're back. But first, for those of you who may not know me, my name is Hannah, and I help you to empower yourself. Also, I'm a dragon, though I might not look like it. And we'll get into that a little bit later as well. But today, I'm going to help you understand exactly what the dragons are, so you can hopefully reclaim that connection that they are calling you to reclaim right now. So first, what exactly are dragons? Now, we all know the stories, the legends, the myths, right? And know that there's a lot of truth in those stories, those legends, those myths. So dragons are these sort of reptilian beings that can often fly and breathe fire. However, they are not the monsters that Western literature makes them out to be. They are typically very multidimensional, very high vibrational beings. And so for the purposes of this video and what I'm about to teach, you can just think of them as higher frequency beings. So everything vibrates at a certain frequency, right? Everything is energy. When you vibrate at a lower frequency, that frequency is slower, and therefore it is able to take a physical, tangible form. When you vibrate at a higher frequency, sometimes that frequency can be so high that it's literally even imperceivable to the regular human senses. And so an example I always use for this is like a hummingbird's wings. You know, hummingbird, it beats its wings so fast that you can't even really see the movements because it is that fast, right? It's just like imperceivable. And so that's what beings such as dragons are vibrating at. They're vibrating at such a high vibrational frequency that you can't even perceive it with your regular senses. You can, however, perceive it with your clair senses, your psychic senses, if you have developed those. And also, if they deem you worthy, if they wish to reveal themselves to you, then they will. Know that dragons are, in general, very wise, powerful, loving, ancient creatures. These are all qualities that they hold. They have the ability to alchemize with their dragon's fire. This is why dragons are thought to breathe fire. Fire is alchemical in nature, right? It has the ability to turn something into something else. This is why we use, for example, heat fire when we're cooking. You can take something that you can't really eat and then poof, with the power of fire, the power of heat, it becomes something edible and delicious. And essentially that's what the dragons do with their fire, is they can take low vibrational energy that doesn't feel so good, even low vibrational emotions, and with their dragon's fire, they can transmute that instantly to something more palatable, higher vibrational, something that feels more positive, more expansive. And on this note, they also want me to mention, this is why if you are just in a really good mood, let's say, or you're in the flow state, you feel like you're kind of like flying away, right? You feel like you're so expansive, that's the word. And you feel light, you feel free. When people are in love, right? We talk about them having butterflies in their chest. It's like flying energy, right? It's transcending this physical density, this slow vibrational, low vibrational reality. And so this is where the dragon's ability to fly comes from. They vibrate, again, at such a high frequency that they're not bound by the laws of gravity. And so dragons, they existed long before humans did. and they existed long before Earth even existed. However, there are some dragons that are innately connected to Mother Earth. These are the elemental dragons. These 9 elemental dragons are innately connected to the frequencies of Mother Earth, and it is these 9 elemental dragons who have really taken it upon themselves to help with Earth and her ascension process, and by extension, all of our ascension processes. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. Now, these 9 dragon elementals, you have fire, water, earth, air, light, darkness, ether or spirit, chaos, and finally storm or maelstrom. Those are the 9 dragon elementals. Now, there are many other dragon elementals, and there are many dragons that don't even have an elemental affinity, but I would say it's these 9 dragon elementals that are most prolific on Earth at this time, because they have this sort of soul contract with Earth. Many of those beings, they are protectors. They protect certain areas of the earth. Like many earth dragons, you'll find them in the mountains. They'll literally live inside the mountains. They'll be one with the mountains. They protect the mountains. Water dragons in the seas, in the rivers, in the waterfalls, in the lakes, protecting those spaces. So that also brings us to another quality of dragons. They are protectors. Generally, they have a very strong, powerful, protective energy, and you can call on them to protect you if you ever feel that you need that. And oftentimes, maybe we will feel that we need that on this ascension journey. It can be dangerous, treacherous, triggering at times. And so, no, they want you to know, if you ever feel like you need a little support, a little protection, you can always call on them. Dragons tend to get a bad rap in society because they are considered to be like monstrous, right? Destructive. Even in the spiritual communities that might be more aware of this, many associate them with like the draconians, the reptilians. However, dragons are very different than draconians and reptilians. They are completely separate species, and they tell me that draconians and reptilians, there is a slight association, but they're kind of like bastardized versions of dragons. Like dragon DNA was taken and kind of mixed with other stuff, and they're bastardizations of actual dragons. Actual dragons in and of themselves, they have a very high, very pure frequency. So all this is to be said. If you've just clicked on this, you have 0 experience with dragons. No, there is nothing to be afraid of. This is why they wanted me to make this video. This is why they have wanted me to teach about them, to talk about them with the collective. We have other high frequency beings, right? Such as angels, fairies, unicorns that are much better received by just the collective, by spiritual people. But dragons, for many, they still have this bad rap. Many are still kind of wary of dragon energy, and there's simply no need to worry around them. They have a very loving energy if you can be open to that, open to receiving that love that they have for you. And if anything, know that their love is so high vibrational, it's so intense, it's so pure, that in and of itself, this is where the idea that they're threatening can come from, because sometimes when you are met with just so much love, so much high vibrational energy that you're not used to it, it overwhelms your system, and all of the resistance to that will come to the surface. And then that energy, that dark energy that's coming to the surface to actually be released, it can be projected on the source of the love. And so you can see this happening often in narcissist empath relationships, for example. The empath gives nothing but unconditional love to the narcissist, and yet the narcissist just projects all this negativity onto the empath. And it's the same. There's kind of like an empath narcissist relationship between dragons and humanity, with the dragons being the empaths here and the humans projecting all this darkness, this negativity onto the dragons. But let's change that, shall we? So where did the dragons go? That's what I'm going to go into next. So at one point in humanity's history on Earth, there were dragons among us. This is why in basically every culture across the globe, even though these cultures were not interacting with each other, they all have dragons somewhere in their stories, in their mythology, right? It's because it's not a myth, it's not fiction. It is very, very real and was very, very real. People's connections with dragons were very, very real. Now, what happened is about 10,000-ish years ago, we had the fall of Atlantis, the descension of humanity. So this is where we used to be at a much higher vibrational state, where we lived in essentially this Garden of Eden frequency, where we were all friends, singing Kumbaya around the fire. We were all friends, we were all connected. And we had things like dragons, angels, fairies, unicorns. They were all very real. We all coexisted in peace with each other. However, humanity got a little big for its britches with its technologies, the Atlantean technologies. And the technology, I believe, got a little ahead of the level of consciousness that the humans were at. And ironically, not ironically, the same thing is happening right now. And it's not a coincidence. This is happening to mirror that time, the fall of Atlantis. We're basically being presented with the same energy to see if we're going to make the same choice this time and go further down, or if we're going to make a different choice and go up and ascend again. And so it is my hope for humanity that we ascend again. It is my intention that I will ascend, that you will ascend, that we will all ascend. And so that is why I like to teach about dragons and ascension. It is also the dragon's hope that we will ascend, because guess what? We used to be friends with them. We used to be buddies. We used to know that they were very real and to not question their existence. They miss that. They want that back. They want their connection with us back. They're kind of telling me right now, they're so playful, they're so loving, that like, you know, we were like their beloved pets in a way. And they were our beloved pets. Like we had that, you know how if you have a pet, like it's just such a high vibrational loving connection. There's so much affection there, right? And you're so sad when the pet dies, because the pet has a shorter lifespan than you do, right? And so that's what it was like for us and dragons. We had a very strong bond, a very strong connection. But then when we had this descension, humans lost their infinite lifespan, their immortality. And so we became like pets are, where we had these short lifespans now. And the dragons miss when we were immortal and they could form bonds with us, just like in, you know, fiction, like The Fourth Wing and Aragon, stuff like that, where there's like a human rider and a dragon and they have this really strong, unbreakable bond. This also used to be a thing where we had these bonds with dragons. But as we descended, so too did that connection. We lost that connection. Because what happened is as we descended, we became lower vibrational. We lost our magic. Humanity lost its magic. And so humanity then, in general, started to prey on those that were not going to descend, that did not lower their frequencies, such as the dragons, the unicorns, the mermaids, etc., etc. Even other humans that were not ready to descend, that wanted to just continue staying in that high vibration, they were also preyed upon. And maybe I'm getting the sense as I speak, maybe you're starting to have some strong feelings about this. Maybe it's starting to trigger some past life memories. And know that if you're watching this, you definitely had at least one incarnation around this time, and you might have been a human, or you might have been a dragon or a unicorn or something else, and you feel in your soul how your magic was misused. Because essentially these corrupt humans, when they lost their magic and they're like, we can no longer access this, they had to siphon it. They had to take it from others. Again, the analogy of the empath narcissist, right? The narcissist is also known as an energy vampire. It has to suck energy from the empath because it can't generate it itself. They can't generate it themselves. I don't want to like dehumanize narcissists, but I'm just talking about, I guess, narcissistic energy here as an energy that can be applied to anyone or anything, really. And so it was very much a narcissistic energy that humanity was in at this time, where they started hunting down the dragons, the unicorns, the fairies, all the fun magical creatures, and all the fun magical humans as well, and trying to take that power for their own. And so what happened is they killed off many dragons, and the dragons that remained, they're like, okay, this is not acceptable. We're going to stay here because we're a little concerned about what you guys are going to do to our beloved planet. We're going to stay here, but we're not going to stay in that low vibrational physical frequency with you. We are going to stay in the higher realms, the higher frequencies, where you're no longer going to be able to perceive us, so that we will be safe. We can still, fulfill our duties, protecting the planet, being in harmony with the planet without being threatened by you. And know that that's what the light does. The light does not need to fight the darkness or resist the darkness. The light simply holds its light, and it allows the darkness to meet it there. And when darkness meets it there, it becomes light as well. And so that's what's happening. All this time, the 10,000 years, the dragons have essentially been in hiding in these higher dimensions, and they only slowly came back to the human psyche through mythical tales, through fiction, right? So we're all aware of them. We all know what dragons are, but we see them as these mythical creatures that aren't actually real. And now that is why they're coming back for real. That is what is changing now. How exciting, right? So in summation, where did the dragons go? They've been here the whole time. They've just been in a higher dimension, a higher frequency than we have been. So now that brings us to the next question, right? Why are they coming back? Why would they want to have anything to do with us, right? And I've kind of already talked about it, but let's really hyper focus in on it now. So Ascension, right? If you're not aware of Ascension, very briefly, we are now all collectively at this very, very magical time that the whole multiverse is so excited about and watching us like in anticipation, because we are now shifting from the lower vibrations back up to the higher vibrations. So essentially it's a complete reversal of what happened during this fall of Atlantis now. And this is why, again, things might seem a little deja vu, a little similar to those times, because we're being presented with similar energies to see what choice we're going to make this time. Have we really evolved? Are we really ready for ascension? That is the question that the universe, the multiverse, is posing to us. And it is truly up to us to decide what we want to do. Maybe, for each person, the answer will be slightly different. So needless to say, now that we're going back up to the higher dimensions, the dragons are so ecstatic. They are celebrating. They are so excited. They're happy to be rejoined with their family. They see us as their family. They are your family. Do you feel that? I had mad chills when I said that. They are our family, and they're so happy welcoming us back like prodigal children that we are. And so they want this ascension process actually to be fun. They want it to be easy. They want us to feel supported. And they have, that unconditional love, the high frequency energy, the wisdom, the alchemy needed to assist us, to guide us through. And so now, they've dropped little hints of themselves over the ages in our fiction, little by little. And now, boom, the floodgates are open and they're coming back in full. And so you'll see, I have many, followers, clients coming to me and being like, I was never aware of dragons. They were never on my radar. And now they're everywhere. What is happening? What is happening is they're coming back. This is what it looks like first before, you're going to physically see these dragons. They come back in the consciousness. And then when enough of us in the collective consciousness, we believe in the existence of dragons again, we believe that they're real, then they can start to take physical form again in front of not just a single person, let's say, that they deem worthy of seeing them, who is ready and open to see them, but just in general in front of people who might not be ready. But in order to get to that tipping point, enough people have to believe in dragons. And I'm like kind of laughing now because it just makes me think of the scene. I'm thinking of like Peter Pan and specifically the movie Hook, and Tinkerbell, and the whole thing with like, oh, don't say I don't believe in fairies, because if you say I don't believe in fairies, a fairy dies somewhere, and that's like a joke, right? But it's actually kind of true. Like, it came from truth, and it's not just applicable to the fairies, but it's applicable to the dragons, the mermaids, etc., all these elemental beings that are now thought as mythical. They essentially, we need to believe, enough people need to believe in them for them to even have that physical form in front of most people. So what is happening now is they're prepping humanity for their return. They're coming back in waves, in droves, back into our consciousness. You'll also see, like in fiction, dragons are popping up even more now in fiction than they ever did before. And I think another interesting, cool thing to know is, like, notice how even just like, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, usually dragons in fiction, they would appear in a very antagonistic, scary role as like this enemy, this thing that you need to kill. I personally have noticed how it seems like more and more often now they're appearing in this role that they've always meant to be in, which is like as our partners, as equals, right? So again, I think of like How to Train Your Dragon, Aragon, Fourth Wing. These are all really healthy depictions of true dragon energy and what it looks like. And I would say specifically, even How to Train Your Dragon, sometimes I shit on How to Train Your Dragon, because even though it's like they revere the dragons and they're intelligent and they're partners, the dragons in How to Train Your Dragon are still very animal-like, and they have these qualities of like pets and stuff. But I would say in Aragon and like Fourth Wing, that's more akin to like how actual dragons are. They're very, very, very wise and intelligent. They have their own language, but it's not like physical human language. It's just telepathy, because they don't need to waste their breath. They don't need to waste their words. They know they don't need to speak like we do. And on that note, like, telepathy is our native tongue. It's everyone's native tongue. And we can return to that. And as we ascend, we're going to return to that more and more. You may already be seeing it actually in your everyday life, where, for example, you think of someone and then they text you, they call you, even if you haven't talked to them for years. So that, in summation, why are the dragons coming back? They're coming back to support us with Ascension. And they are so honored to do so. They're so excited to do so. They are happy to do so. And so, if you're watching this video, you are invited to reconnect with your dragons, and know that in doing this, in reconnecting with dragon guides, and reconnecting with your own dragon energy, because likely also you've had incarnations, whether here or other places, as a dragon yourself, and you are what I call a dragon soul. And this is why at the beginning of the video, I said I'm a dragon. I am 1000% a dragon soul. I'm very aware of other incarnations that I have had and am having, because time doesn't exist, as a dragon. And I often call upon my own dragon energy when I am channeling these videos. So in any case, focus foxing myself back to the present moment. Essentially, when enough of us in our consciousness believe in the dragons again, and without a doubt, there's no hesitation, there's no part of us that doubts that they are fully real and that they have the ability to be physical, at that point, this could be, just a few years down the line. It could be tomorrow. It could be decades down the line. I don't know. It's hard to predict that right now, but essentially at that point, when enough humans fully believe in dragons again, they will return. They will return in physical form. And I just got mad chills to confirm that. They will return. And maybe even you can take physical dragon form yourself if you have prominent dragon energy. And so as shapeshifters also, they want to teach us how to do that. For them, physical form, because they're so high vibrational, physical form is very malleable. It doesn't matter to them so much. And they can easily shapeshift into any being that they wish. And they can shapeshift their own draconic appearance, and they wish to teach us these things, these old ways of how to do this, and they will in time. But it all starts with you reclaiming your connection with the dragons, and know that what you can do to help the dragons and coming back to help yourself, to help humanity in this ascension process, is to restore your belief in the dragons. Just choose to believe that they exist. Let them show you, let them give you evidence that they exist. And know that, I just want to say something that's like a little more commonplace in the collective right now. It's much, much more commonplace and more talked about than dragons at the moment, is aliens, right? This is exactly what's happening with aliens. Everyone, right? Everyone is talking about like aliens, knows about aliens, UFOs, all this stuff now. It's a huge topic. And that's the exact same thing that's happening, is like many humans are expecting, oh, they're going to just come back physically and then we're all going to believe, and that's disclosure. No. Actually, the disclosure that happens, it's like you directly with your star family. So these beings, they're directly talking to us, communicating with us. They talk directly to me. There's many YouTubers, many people on social media that, you know, channel these star beings, and they're communicating directly with them, and they're communicating directly with you too, right? And when enough of us, again, believe in this and we trust this, we know it to just be truth, that's when the aliens will also take physical form and we will see physical aliens. But it's not like we're looking at it the reverse way that it should be. It's just like law of attraction manifestation. They say be, do, have. You have to be something, then you act in a way in alignment with that beingness, and then you get to have it. It manifests physically. But we're taught it's the opposite, that you have to have the thing first, that it has to be physical first. Then you'll act in a certain way. Then you'll feel a certain way. And that just simply does not work. Not with manifestation, and not with the aliens and the dragons coming back either. So it's not that we're going to see aliens, we're going to see dragons, and then everyone's going to believe in them because we see them. No, no, no. We have to choose to believe in them again. We have to activate that telepathic connection we already have with them. And as enough of us do that in the collective, then they can actually manifest physically. And that's just going to happen naturally. So I hope that makes sense. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions on that. So all this said, maybe you're just like, hell yeah, I believe, or I want to believe, I choose to believe. How do I take this connection deeper? How do I meet my dragon guide? How do I connect? How do I activate my own dragon energy? And for that, my friend, I would say you are at exactly the right place. I have so many resources, both free and paid, for you if this is something you'd like to do. So I would say the best place to start would be my YouTube channel. I literally have a playlist called Dragons Roar, and that has like all my videos on dragons, and I have so many videos like on what you can do to just get started working with them. That's a great place to start. I also have a free meditation here on YouTube where you will go to the dragon realm and you will take dragon form and just get acquainted with that energy. So you can totally check those things out. So I will link just a specific video to get you started up here. I'm not sure yet as of filming this which one I'm going to put up here, but you will see it if you click on it. Another great free resource that I just came out with is what elemental dragon is calling you. And this is a free quiz that you can take to get matched up with an elemental dragon, and we just keep it to the 4 base ones, which is fire, water, earth, air. And then I send you a series of emails that will give you some information on how to connect more deeply with that specific guide that's coming through. And this is one I'm super excited about. I absolutely love it. I've gotten so much good feedback on it. So you can totally take that quiz too, totally for free. And then as for paid stuff, you can join my private community and mystery school, the House of the Spirit Dragon, where we work with the dragons and do a bunch of other esoteric stuff. And as of filming this, next month, actually, September 2025, we're going to be working live with the darkness dragons in the house. So if that calls to you, if the darkness calls to you, we'd love to have you there. And then finally, this, I save this for last because it's the one I'm the most excited about. Just a couple months ago, I launched a brand new one-to-one mentorship program. It's called Path of the Dragon Mage. It is for those of you out there who are very, very serious about this path, who are like, yeah, let's go. I am so ready to activate my dragon energy and to work with all of the dragons and really like hop into the next level of my life. I have just taken on a few clients so far, and we're still working together, and oh my gosh, the results have been phenomenal so far. It's blown away all of our expectations. Oh my gosh, there are no words. There's only frequency. I hope you can feel it as I talk about it. But if this is something that calls to you, you can find that on my website. I'll also leave a link in the description. And essentially, you can apply to be one of my next clients. I think within the next couple of weeks, I will likely be taking on a few more clients. Spots are limited to maybe 2 or 3 people. So if that's calling you, I would encourage you to follow that fire and see what happens next. So having watched all of that, if you're still here, thank you for listening. The dragons love you. They appreciate you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm super curious to know, do you feel the dragons are calling you? Are you already working with them? What are your thoughts on this? Please, please, please let me know. I always love to hear from you guys. I read every comment that I get, even if I can't actually respond to every comment all the time. And if you guys have any questions for me about dragons, feel free to also drop that in the comments. Maybe it will inspire a new video idea. So as always, if this video resonated, if this brought some value to your life, please like, subscribe, and engage with the video in some way, as this helps this information get out to more and more people, which then helps more and more people have dragons actually existing in their consciousness, which makes it easier for dragons to really actually come back. So yeah, if you could do that, me and the dragons would love you forever, but know that me and the dragons are loving you forever. Anyways, my friend. So much, much, much love to you on your journey. Stay powerful.